Everybody, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Tucker Sennett, your lead beat writer for NC State on SI, down here in Raleigh, keeping you up to date on all things North Carolina State sports, whether that's football, basketball, your Olympic sports, all things Wolfpack all the time. We're back again with another podcast today, an exciting one. We're going to do an update on sort of the status of your Wolfpack football players that have moved on to the next level. So your NFL Wolfpack guys, obviously training camps going on in the NFL, so it's an exciting time for a lot of young guys trying to make those NFL rosters. And there's a sizable contingent of former members of the Wolfpack running with NFL teams these days. There's actually 29 total players as of today on NFL rosters. Obviously, some of these guys are at risk of not making rosters or being added to practice squads kind of after camp ends. And I'll try to, do my best. Obviously, I'm not an NFL reporter, so I'm not as up to date on a lot of this stuff as they are, but I'll do my best to forecast, whether these some of these guys are capable of making an NFL roster or not. So let's start with one of the two teams tied for the most member or former Wolfpack guys on the roster. We'll go in alphabetical order. We'll start with the Arizona Cardinals. They have four former NC State players on their roster, kind of headlined by Jacoby Brissett, obviously a former quarterback here that was a pretty great college player and has gone on to have a solid NFL career as a backup and stints starting in for a couple teams, New England, Indianapolis. He's been a solid NFL quarterback, and he'll be backing up Kyler Murray. So I think that his job's pretty safe. So there's a guy who will, whether it's with the Cardinals or not, he'll be on an NFL roster in 2025. Then you got defensive end Justin Jones. Could be the odd man out in this defensive line room with the Cardinals. They have a lot of new guys in that unit, but as of right now, looks like he could be a depth piece for that defensive line. Then you got inside linebacker V Jones. He's looking more like he could be on the outside looking in, alongside running back Bam Knight, another guy who could be looking in or looking in from the outside. So the Cardinals with four guys from NC State. Then you got Atlanta with one. Contavious Street is a defensive tackle. He's currently trending to be the fourth defensive tackle in the depth chart. So not certain about his status going into the season, whether he makes the roster or not. Looks like he'd be a rotational piece if he does, so I would lean no. Then you got your local Carolina Panthers up next. Obviously, superstar, first round draft pick, sort of starting to come into his own offensive tackle. He's playing left tackle now. Ikem Ekwonu, I can say it, I swear. He is poised for a big year. They're trying to turn things around with the Panthers, and he's a big part of that in terms of keeping Bryce Young upright and making sure this team can generate some offense for the first time in a long time. Um, the other Wolfpack guy for the Panthers is offensive guard Chandler Zavala. He's trending to be probably make the roster, but be a backup offensive guard for the Panthers. That's what it's looking like for him. Chicago has one former Wolfpack player, a really, really quality offensive lineman, another one, and a sort of long list of them to come through. Raleigh, Joe Tooney, you might know him from the last couple years with the Chiefs. He moved around a lot. He played several different positions for them. Looks like he's going to be a guard for the Bears. This is a guy who has been amongst the more well-renowned offensive linemen in the NFL over the course of his career with the Patriots, with the Chiefs, and now with the Bears. He's been an All-Pro twice. He's won four Super Bowls. So this guy knows what it takes to get your offensive line all the way. Bears obviously signed him to kind of improve an offensive line that really struggled to protect number one overall pick Caleb Williams in his rookie year. And Tooney was kind of a cap casualty for the Chiefs coming off of the Super Bowl loss as they look to retool their offensive line. Cincinnati, one Wolfpack player, BJ Hill, the defensive tackle. He'll be a starter for them, pretty certain, and is looking to have a big year on a defense that needs a big year because they really they really struggled last year. He's been with the team now for a few years. Had a tremendous career as a defensive tackle at NC State. Really good against the run. Um, this is a guy that just he's a massive human. He takes up a lot of space, and if Cincinnati loses Trey Hendrickson, this is a guy that they're really going to want, or that they're really going to want to have healthy for the 2025 season. Detroit, Aleem McNeil is your one player for Detroit, the defensive tackle. McNeil is, I believe, in his fourth or fifth season in the pros. So um, he's looking like he's going to be a at least a rotational piece, maybe a starter for the Lions as they move on with a new defensive coordinator after Aaron Glenn took the Jets job. So could be a new foundational piece for this new look defense for the Lions. Green Bay, we have Anthony Belton playing right tackle. He's looking like he's going to be a backup. He's a rookie. Played on last year's Wolfpack team. Was a quality offensive lineman, another one in a long line of them. He was a second round pick in the draft, and he is important to this year's NC State team because Jacarius Peak is looking to sort of channel his role in a lot of ways at left tackle. He's taking over at left tackle from Belton, and they're hoping that what anything Belton was able to teach Peak benefits him this year. Then we got Jacksonville with one player, corner Aiden White, another member of last year's team. He was undrafted, um, unlikely to make the team. He's currently listed as the fourth corner, so probably not going to be suiting up for your Jaguars. Could be a practice squad guy, could be a special teams guy. You never know. But as of right now, not projected to be there. The Chargers have a fun one. Naheem Hines is kind of making his NFL comeback. Obviously had some really exciting years with the Colts as a gadget guy. A lot of Wolfpack fans remember him very fondly for his days with NC State, looking to, just get back on an NFL roster and he's capable of it, but he's got a lot of competition in that pretty loaded running back room for the Chargers. And now with Rashawn Slater out for the season, who knows what they're going to do personnel wise. But could be good to have an extra running back in the stable if possible. Then our next team with tied with the Cardinals for the most former NC State players rostered right now. We got the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have four former Wolfpack guys as well. Starting with safety Tanner Ingle. He is looking like he's going to be a rotational safety for them on the depth chart. Came out as a undrafted free agent in the class of 2023. Then you have offensive guard Dylan McMahon. He is entering his second year in the league. He was a sixth round draft pick. Also looking like he's going to be a backup. Then a veteran defensive end, Laurel Murchison. He's probably a rotational piece on this defensive line. Um, Possibly will make the roster. And then rookie running back Jordan Waters, who had a solid year last year, ended up taking off from NC State and trying things out in the pros. And he's unlikely to make the roster, but he's another you never know guy. Could be special teamer role like that. The Raiders coming in with three NC State players, all three likely and almost definitely will be significant contributors in the 2025 season as long as they're healthy. And the best of the three is punter AJ Cole. He's turned into one of the NFL's best punters. Just an absolutely elite leg, and he's looking to be a all pro this year. I think that's the bar because he's proven to be one of the league's most elite punters far and away. So a really exciting year coming up for him. Then you got wide receiver Jacoby Myers, who looks to be probably the Raiders' best receiver on the roster in terms of wide receivers. Obviously, they have Brock Bowers, but Myers is even though he works out of the slot a lot, he'll probably be Geno Smith's number one target outside of Bowers in terms of receivers. And he's a veteran at this point, seen a lot, and he's looking to sort of break out in a big way as a number one option. And exciting year coming up for him. And then linebacker Jermaine Pratt, who the Raiders added relatively recently, he will be a big piece in this defense. A guy who has been a tackler, a tackling machine in the NFL, and they're excited to have him in the building there, giving that linebacker room a little bit more veteran presence. Miami, they're going to have one former Wolfpack member, maybe the most notable on this list, Bradley Chubb, outside linebacker, edge rusher, coming off a really bad injury a couple years ago, so hasn't played in a while, but a Wolfpack legend, could be a potential trade piece for a team that's sort of, I don't want to say falling apart, but not doing super well chemistry wise and roster wise. Could be looking at a rebuild there. So that's something to keep an eye on. But he'll be a starter for the Dolphins as long as he's there. Minnesota, two former members of the Wolfpack. You got center Zeke Cornell or Correll. Sorry, not Cornell. Correll. He is another guy who he's a rookie claimed off of undrafted, or he's a claimed free agent, undrafted. Could push for the roster as a backup, more likely a practice squad guy. We'll see. And then wide receiver Thayer Thomas also there, another undrafted free agent from a few years ago. He's pushing for, maybe a special teams role. Might not make the roster. In New England, Garrett Bradbury is going to be the starting center. I wrote a little bit about his debut yesterday, or his debut this weekend, but I wrote the story yesterday. Um, a really experienced player, obviously was a fantastic player for NC State. Gives Drake May a guy who's seen a lot under center or as the center. Which is good. Obviously, you want an experienced center with your young signal caller, and that could go a long way for May and a team that could be a dark horse in the NFL, especially with a veteran pass blocker helping Drake May figure things out offensively. Then we got the Giants with technically one player from NC State, but I like to say two just because it's sort of forgotten that he went to NC State, even though he was a fantastic quarterback there. You got defensive tackle Cody Durden. He's the third stringer on the depth chart right now. He's, you know, battling for a roster spot. And starting quarterback Russell Wilson. He did obviously attend North Carolina State. He played football and baseball here. He was a tremendous quarterback. Obviously left to go to Wisconsin after he was mulling playing in Major League Baseball. Didn't end up working out, and he went back to go play more college football in the Big Ten, start at Wisconsin, and then went on to win a Super Bowl with the Seahawks, and sort of looking for a new chapter in his career here in New York. He won that starting job. They're going with his experience. Even though Jackson Dart he looked really good in that preseason game. So certainly something to watch there with the Giants, and another another member of the Wolfpack. Pittsburgh, probably the most underrated, talented member of this group of former Wolfpack players. Inside linebacker Peyton Wilson. This guy is a tackling machine. He suplexed a guy in their preseason opener. He's going to be a starter. Look for him to break out in a huge way this year. Mike Tomlin just produces really, really good tacklers, and this was a kid that was phenomenal with the Wolfpack during his time here. So this is yeah, the Steelers fans are in for a really exciting season with him. Seattle, one player, Drake Thomas. He is a linebacker, probably will make the roster as a backup. That's all there is for Seattle. And then finally, our last former member of the Wolfpack is a Washington Commanders guard, Timothy McKay, another guy who will be battling for a roster spot. So there you have it. There's your 29 former Wolfpack players that are rostered in the NFL today, August 11th. And, will all 29 of these guys be on rosters? Probably not, but it's 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 a good sign that there's still a lot of former members of Dave Doran's program out there in the NFL, despite, some ups and downs over the last few years. And I think the big takeaway, there's a lot of offensive linemen that come through NC State. This is something I've talked about before, I've written about. Um, I'm not going to give one of those goofy offensive line U titles because there's schools that certainly do. I probably better at that, but yeah, you can't overlook it. A lot of these guys are just tough road graders that have had really solid NFL careers, not necessarily elite NFL careers, like a guy like Bradbury, who's been around for a while, sort of done his job, but never been exceptional, but solid, like a guy you would want on your NFL roster, and that's why he's with New England. But it's something to look at. It's an interesting trend. Um, just figured I'd point it out for you all. Excited to watch these guys in the NFL. Some of them are in for pretty big years and new roles, and yeah, should be a exciting NFL season for Wolfpack fans to unwind after Saturdays and enjoy some of their former players in action. That's all we got today for the NC State Insider Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. If you want to follow for more content, go ahead and follow my Twitter or X account at Senate Tucker, two N's, two T's on Senate. And the official Wolfpack on SI account at Wolfpack on SI, where more of our stories, analysis, breakdowns, podcasts, everything you would want about your NC State Wolfpack will be posted. Also, can go to our Facebook page, Wolfpack on SI, for more of that content. And then, of course, our website. Um, Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody's having a great day. See you next time.